Okay, everybody, hello. This is Thursday, September 29th, 2011. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium. And I have a quick announcement, actually a couple little ones, and then a article I want you to Google if you can find it because it's very interesting. Anyway, announcement number one, I will be on the Jeff Rent Show tonight, September 29th, from 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific and 11 to midnight Central Time. And of course, that means midnight to 1 Eastern Time. And for those of you in my favorite time zone, us flyover people in the mountain zone, that means 10 to 11 Mountain Time. So, okay, there we are. Announcement number two, my co-author and I, Scott DeHart, are finishing up the book that we are writing together. We're hoping to get that done by October. That's going to go to Feral House, folks, and that means that the book will be out sometime probably late next year. But we wanted it to come out in the year 2012 for reasons that will be abundantly clear when the book is actually out. So, anyway, now I have here an article that someone sent me, and the article is a short review by F. William Engdahl. Now, if you don't know the name F. William Engdahl, run, don't walk, and get his books. One book in particular is called Seeds of Destruction. It's about genetically modified foods and all of the hazards thereof. He is a superb researcher. He also has written another book called Full Spectrum Dominance, which is a book about the current runaway American military doctrine that America must be the dominant power in every aspect of military technology and so on. But he now has an article that he's just posted called NATO's War on Libya is Directed Against China. In other words, Engdahl is now coming out and saying what I've been saying all along, that there is a Chinese factor and a hidden German one, incidentally, in the recent NATO campaign against Libya. And this is quite important, and I have a few things in this article that I want to bring to your attention. He says, quote, NATO's Libya campaign was and is all about oil, but not about simply controlling Libyan high-grade crude because the USA is nervous about reliable foreign supplies. It is rather about controlling China's free access to long-term oil imports from Africa and from the Middle East. In other words, it is about controlling China itself. Now listen very carefully to something that he says here. There's another thing at stake. And I want you to extrapolate from what Engdahl says to the wider Middle Eastern picture here. Engdahl states, quote, as I have detailed elsewhere, Gaddafi, an old adherent of Arab socialism on the line of Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser, used the oil revenues to improve the lot of his people. Healthcare was free, as was education. Each Libyan family was given a state grant of $50,000 towards buying a house, and all bank loans were according to Islamic anti-usury laws. Interest free. The state was also free of debt. Only by bribery and massive infiltration into the tribal opposition areas of the eastern part of the country could the CIA, MI6, and other NATO intelligence operatives at an estimated cost of $1 billion and massive NATO bombing of civilians destabilize the strong ties between Gaddafi and his people. Now, project that into the larger scene. If you recall, a few weeks ago, I blogged about how it was in the bankers, and I believe I talked on Georgianne's Bite Show. It was some show. I'm doing so many shows anymore, I can't keep up. But I believe I blogged or talked about the fact that if you're an international banker, you do not want to see the Islamic world be able to throw off the certain shackles of its otherwise medieval religion and become progressive and technologically sophisticated. Look at the problems we have with Iran. You do not want to see that. You want to maintain those countries in as rigid a kind of religious fundamentalism as possible, because that will stifle their technological progress. The other thing you don't want to see them do is take those portions of their religion which strike directly at the foundations of Western financial power, like these anti-usury laws. So they're in a big, big dilemma as to how to handle the Islamic world. The third thing you don't want to do is you do not want to see China expanding on a global stage its ties to some of these energy resource producing regions. And secondly, the thing that I've said over and over again about what China's doing in places like Latin America and Africa is it's going in and actually trying to help these people. So in spite of what I blogged today about Mr. Zbigniew Brzezinski and his wonderful global multipolar world, his change of heart, the fact of the matter is that the West, led by the United States, is still playing this kind of imperialistic game. Now, the final thing I want to bring to your attention that Engdahl states in this article, and listen very carefully to this. And again, I think he's absolutely right here, folks. He says, quote, in a matter of perhaps 2 to 5 years, depending on how the rest of the world reacts or plays their cards, the People's Republic of China will emerge in the controlled Western media, painted as the new, quote, Hitler Germany, unquote. If that seems hard to believe today, just reflect on how that was done with former Washington allies such as Egypt's Mubarak or even Saddam Hussein. In June this year, former U.S. Secretary of the Navy and now U.S. Senator from Virginia, James Webb, startled many in Beijing when he told the press that China was fast approaching what he called a Munich moment, when Washington must decide how to maintain a strategic balance, a reference to the 1938 crisis over Czechoslovakia, when Chamberlain opted for appeasement with Hitler over Czechoslovakia. Webb added, quote, if you look at the last 10 years, the strategic winner has been China, unquote, unquote. And if you recall, just this week, both Dummy Crook and Republic Thug congressional leaders have called for China to devalue its currency. So we're seeing, I think, and I'm in almost complete agreement with Mr. Engdahl here, I think we're seeing the beginning of a long-term strategic plan to contain China, and what's going on in the Middle East is a part of it. Now, rest assured, China and Russia will respond on the global stage in some way. And I suspect that you're going to see yet an increase, a further increase of ties between Russia, China, India, and Brazil. And watch Germany, because Germany here now is the swing player in all of this. Germany is the geopolitical power that is going to try to play both sides. And I suspect that this also might be behind Germany's sudden pronouncement that the deal with the Greek bailout is going to have to be renegotiated. Germany is going to play this situation very, very carefully and play the cards very close to the chest. So watch Russia, watch China. They will respond in some fashion on the global stage. I suspect that that response is going to be in Latin America, because as we are increasingly and nakedly imperialist with our military operations and stunts around the world, these other nations are not simply going to sit back and allow themselves to be encircled and allow their strategic resources or supplies to be under the control unilaterally of the West. So it's a very, very delicate situation. Again, my opinion is I do not think that these types of maneuvers in the long term are going to be successful. I do think that in my blog, the thing that I mentioned about Mr. Brzezinski and his new call for a kind of multipolar world, I think this is a step closer to reality. But I think what the United States is trying to do is position itself into a position of as much strength as possible for when that kind of negotiation starts. So anyway, that's the news and views from the Nefarium. I hope to hear and have everybody tune in to the Rents program tonight. I have no idea what he wants to talk about. He just contacted me a couple days ago. So anyway, bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you on the flip side, and God bless.